A number of communities here in Michigan feeling the impact of the widespread protests and now bracing for whatever comes next. And we are bringing you live team coverage from across our state tonight, starting in Detroit. The Motor City now seeing a third night of protests and hoping to restore peace after a weekend of destruction and violence.
Detroit police arresting 84 people in connection with last night's protest, the majority of whom live outside the city of Detroit. Today, Mayor Mike Duggan taking action to keep those looking for trouble off the streets. 7 Action News reporter Simon SHAYKHET joining us live with that curfew in effect, and police, they enforce it tonight. Simon.
And Brian, Amira, police really did everything that they could to avoid any trouble out here tonight, but it could not be avoided based on those curfew violators. I want to show you something right here as we zoom in on that, Josh. That is a railroad spike. These types of spikes were thrown at officers this evening as they had to break up that crowd violating the curfew, and you can see there's still a police presence out here into the evening. They have said by no means is this night over. Take a look at more video as well of a confrontation with officers and curfew violators who refused to leave at 8 p.m. Some did use fireworks, and yesterday stones were thrown at officers. Once they began having to defend themselves, the chief says DPD fired that tear gas to break up the crowd, and we too had to take cover as we were live on Facebook. What is sad is how this night ended after a peaceful protest marching through downtown that went until 8 p.m. Community leaders say this violence shows a lack of understanding for how to properly protest and does not consider the relationships our officers have with those who live here.
We do have some outsiders coming in, and it's not about a conversation. It's about wreaking havoc on our city, and we know that. They come prepared to do damage. I mean, you talk about railroad ties, bottles, rocks, and the officers are standing there. That's not an opening for a peaceful demonstration.
Those who want to blow up buildings, those who want to cause entity who hate police, they're in their personal feelings now. It's gone. It's an agenda now. It's gone past George Floyd, and people are using, and they're further disrespecting this man's life by using and propaganda his life and his pain of his family by using this for their personal agendas and go get somebody else's kid.
The chief of police and the mayor also talking about people coming from outside the city of Detroit here to incite violence, and we're waiting to get figures in terms of arrests that took place tonight. Last night there were 84, and a lot of those people were also from outside of the city. In addition to that, that 8 p.m. curfew runs until 5 a.m., and we're going to be learning more about that into this evening, if there's going to be any kind of changes or prolonging of that. Coming up at 11 o'clock, we're also going to hear from Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan. Reporting live downtown, Simon SHAYKHET, 7 Action News. Brian?
All right, Simon, thank you for that live report.
Protesters continue to gather in Detroit in spite of that citywide curfew that went into effect at 8 o'clock tonight. 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell is live downtown Detroit with more on what police are dealing with this evening. Kim?
Yes, I'm live in Corktown, right on Michigan Avenue, right by the lodge. If you take a look behind me, you can see that police have streets shut down around this area. We actually had to park in this area and then walk to the Detroit Police Public Safety Headquarters to see the protest because roads were shut down to prevent people from getting to that area. Now, you heard Simon talk about what police had to say and what some had to say. I want you to take a look at this video of what we saw when we got there. This was the scene just before 8 tonight. You can see protesters holding signs, listening to speakers. Then as it got closer to 8 p.m., the time curfew went into effect to prevent violence in the city, this happened. Protesters lined up and formed a human chain. They said they were protecting other protesters from police. As police advanced to enforce curfew, some protesters kneeled in front of police. They started chanting at police, "Kneel with us, kneel with us." This is what protesters had to say about what their goal was in this demonstration.
My goal is to get justice. We would like the police officers responsible for the deaths of these African American people to be held accountable.
What needs to change is in the system. The people that are black, that are in the police system, need to stand with us. Take their badges off and stand with us.
I'm also a child of immigrants. I've seen suffering in the Middle East. We've done terrible things there for over 10 years, so I feel their pain. So I will always stand for minorities.
This is a line
not of aggression, but to protect the protesters from the police brutality that will happen.
Now, police did not kneel with protesters as the protesters were chanting, asking them to do. This is video of what happened. You can see police advanced in full riot gear. They threw flashbangs and tear gas at the crowd. That quickly dispersed the crowd, and police continued to march after them, encouraging them to disperse with tear gas and flashbangs. So police, we saw, took people into custody who were not leaving as they were ordered to leave as the curfew was starting to be enforced. We can hear periodically flashbangs in the distance. That's what we can only assume that it is, and we can only assume that at some place in the city around this area, police and protesters continue to interact. Reporting live in Detroit, Kim Russell, 7 Action News.
Kim, thank you. Yes, the tension continuing to build, and we appreciate you staying on top of this developing story. Kim, thank you.